How you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry
Oh man, don't worry at all.
that I missed. I've been juggling so much stuff lately, and today was all it all came to a head and stuff. So,
Yeah.
and how's it going?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, and thanks for taking the time. I know you're busy. I've read, looked at some of your interviews recently. It sounds like you're still doing a ton of work, even though with everything that's
You
going
know
on.
what? It was a few months of nothing. Like
Yeah,
like worried and what the hell's gonna happen? And I'm supposed to be touring right now, and then I just started. Studios opened up in
yeah,
LA. And then I can also work from home. I'm doing something right now. That's why look
yeah,
at all the stuff behind me. It's
yeah.
like the mad scientist's lair.
It looks
So
so awesome.
I'm constantly working stuff,
Yeah,
and and then I'm working on this, and then the time got away from me. It goes from like 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock in 1 minute. you
yeah.
know. And then I got to do this, and then my daughter walks in and says, "Hey, we're going for a walk. You want to come?" I'm like, "Actually, I got to do this first." She goes, "No, you got to come." So it's who on a unicycle,
Yeah.
3 balls and a chainsaw. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny actually. It was one of the things I was going to ask you. You know, with Bon Jovi and the drums and everything, whether you were still doing a lot of session work outside of that.
Yeah, I worked with Ron Nevison last week. So this, like, if you Google that name, you will see like a really long and stupendous career.
Yeah,
He, and when you Google somebody and then you forget all that stuff because you're just hanging out and he's a regular guy and you're
yeah.
having lunch and then he says something like, "Oh yeah, when I put the phase on Jon Bonham's drums on Cashmere," and you're
Yeah,
like, "What?"
yeah, that's awesome. We know a guy here. So Kirst is a photographer. So we run this website. Kirst was a concert photographer before that. But when we moved to Chicago, she got to know a guy called Paul Napkin, who's
Yeah,
like quite famous rock and roll photographer. He took that one of Ozzy holding up the
Randy
like
Rhoads.
yeah right before he died. Right, and he basically said everyone wanted that image after that. It appeared like
Of
it was
course,
you know the
it's
one.
on a million shirts.
Yeah, but
I
we
think I had
both.
the poster when I was a kid.
Yeah, I think I had that poster, and then we'll go for lunch with him. And again, it's like he's just a guy, right? So he's just a lovely guy, and he really helped Kirst with the photography when we got here.
Nice.
We'll go and meet him for lunch, and you'll just be talking to him, and he's like, "Yeah, yeah, that year that I was on tour with the Stones, I was sat next to Keith Richards in the bus, and you're like, holy shit." Or like when I shot, what was the other one?
Hey,
When I shot
so
Bruce
much.
Springsteen.
When you meet somebody with a lot of history like that, you just want to pick their brain.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
all I want to do. We interviewed him for the site actually when we first set it up, and it was great because he loves talking about that stuff, and it was like the easiest interview I've ever done. It was just like, right, Paul, tell us about your career, and he was just like just went through the whole thing for about an hour, and
yeah,
I probably asked him about 3 questions, and he just gave us the full history. It was awesome.
that's amazing. I
Yeah,
love stuff like that, and then when you work, especially in the studio, I've worked with so many producers
yeah,
and so many artists, and you're always learning from someone.
yeah.
But a guy like that, he does something, and you really pay attention.
Yeah, you really do. You really
Yeah,
do. And I want to say, like, I mean, we interviewed you back in, man, it was 18 when you were on tour with Bon Jovi. We interviewed you at the hotel. And I always wanted to see you after that because you were so nice. Like, you got us backstage and then you met us after the show and everything. And it was like, it was really interesting to me. Like you were in this huge band and you did all that, and I can't tell you, like Kirst Bon Jovi, her band from being a kid. So I can't tell you how much you made a day by doing that. Like we went,
you
underneath the
know what?
stage.
I feel like if when you meet cool people, it's
Yeah,
it's nice to have the hookup.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's not just like, "Hey, why don't you come by for a sandwich?" It's like, "Why don't you go on stage with Bon Jovi?" You
Yeah,
know,
it was awesome. And then we were under there, and you were like, "Wait, just you kind of left us under the stage." You're like, "Go over there." Shanks has got like what was it, like a '58 Les Paul or something like that. Go and have a look at that thing.
yeah, he has some crazy gear. He's a
Yeah,
collector. I mean, I have a few things but I don't feel right taking them on the road.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I
but he
also,
doesn't mind. He's like, they're supposed to be played. What are you gonna do? Put
yeah.
it in a window somewhere?
Yeah, there's a few people like that. I'm trying. Who was it who takes like tons of them on the road? I can't think who it is. I'm thinking of it at the minute. I mean, before everyone okay? Family all safe and well?
Everybody's good, man. I think the most important answer is that everybody's healthy.
Yeah.
Like we're all just really safe.
Yeah.
And we have this little ISO community that we kind of like, okay, you can come over.
Yeah.
And, you know, because the kids, you know, my kids started school after we moved back to LA, and that's what they miss.
Yeah.
They can't go to a playground. They love playgrounds. They can't hang with their friends. They love their friends. It's a really sad situation. And then the world is so crazy. I'm getting tired of trying to explain it to them, you know?
Yeah.
Because they're young. They're 4 and 6, almost 7. And, Daddy, why is this and why is that? And why can't I go to the store? Yeah. I'm like, you know, they used to go shopping with us all the time. And now we're not going to take them to the market. Yeah, we don't have kids, and I think that like explaining the world today, like a lot of stuff about today's world to kids, that's a challenging thing to do. Well, that's challenging. Waking up every morning thinking that I won't be on a stage until next year, that's challenging. Yeah. Like emotionally, it's like it feels like a tragedy.
Yeah.
How did this happen?
Yeah, you know? It really is. I mean, even as as an attendee at shows, and because of what we do, you know, we were live shows all the time. It's like a huge part of our life. Yeah. And it's a killer because that's like, for an audience, that's the pressure valve, right? You go and see live music, that's the switch off. That's I'm getting away from everything for 2 hours and that's all I'm focused on. And if you take that...
I do that too. I'm a fan too. Me and my wife go see bands all the time.
Yeah.
When Def Leppard comes to town, we go see Def Leppard, you
know?
Yeah. We have friends in these bands too, you know, Skid Row, Motley Crue, these guys are pals, so it's like, it's hard to see everybody just shut down. Yeah. But I feel like when I talk to a lot of fans, because I launched the Nap a few months ago. Yeah. So I do a live chat every Tuesday and we talk. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know, man, my buddy just did a parking lot car drive-in show. Yeah. What do you guys think of that? And they're like, I don't want to do it. I go, I personally don't want to do it. And I personally don't want to go to a show and be sitting in the car and then watch other people getting out of their cars because they can't stand it. And then they're on their hoods and they're not wearing masks and everybody's forgotten why we're in our cars. And I don't want to do a show like that. And I don't want to be a show like that. You know? Be at a show. It's just, but then, other things, like we have a fan that's in Vienna and they did a thing where everybody showed up and wore like a floaty, like a floaty. Yeah. It's like a big donut with the unicorn head. Yeah. And everybody in this place is like that. But all you need is somebody to sneeze and you're done. The whole room, right?
And I think that's the problem, right? I get it. And I saw that some venues started trying to do it like at quarter or half capacity, but the other thing is, I also totally get when a band starts playing, all that stuff normally goes out your head, right? You just you're going to want to get to the front. You're going to want to and you won't think about that stuff anymore.
Yeah, when I go see a band or even when I'm playing, I sometimes get abducted out of my body. I'm just, watching me enjoy it. Yeah. It's hard to imagine what's going to happen next,
I think one of the scary things as well is, and I did an interview with the communications director from NIVA, the National Independent Venue Association. Wow. And that is scary shit. I mean, that is like, if they don't get this stuff through Congress, this act that they're trying to get through, I mean, I think they said something like 95% of their memberships were independent venues. Something close to that number was saying they'd likely go out of business. And I mean, that screws everybody for live music, right? It screws the musicians, the fans, everybody. It cuts off the whole network. So that's worrying. Like, I really hope that stuff gets through Congress and they get some support. Otherwise, a lot of those venues that we all love are going to disappear.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
crazy, man. That's a big glass.
Yeah. it sounds like now the stuff they've put a bill in from the Congress that's going to support them. So hopefully that goes through, because it's the way they were putting it. It's like, you know, we were starting from a negative because not only do we not get any income, but we had to refund all the tickets that we'd sold. So we had to pay people back a load of money and then all of that. But yeah, hopefully that goes through and things sort it out, because I don't want to see like the Metro disappear or anything like that in Chicago. I mean, those are iconic places.
That would suck.
Yeah.
But you know, it's how do you put a show on?
Yeah.
The summer of 2021. Yeah. And expect the people to buy tickets now too, like that.
I know. It's such a gamble, right? It's like I've seen some bands starting to push back tours to 2021, but I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. I hope it's all. I hope there's some.
I think the Drills will be playing before Bon Jovi. Because I think smaller venues will open up.
Yeah.
And then anybody that I talk to that's in the the big touring bands, they're looking at 2022.
Yeah.
So like arenas and stadiums and.
Well, hopefully the ones open up and then you. And I guess I mean, since we last spoke to you, there's been a lot going on, and I wanted to like touch a bit on the Drills and Bon Jovi, and I feel like. I like the fact that Right on the Money is outside of both of the albums, and it just came out of this masterclass that you got asked to do, playing live. It was, and the thing is, for me, it was interesting because I first came across you doing the Fretted Americana videos, right?
Right, of course.
I love watching you do those live sessions at the end. Like, one of my favorite ever that you did was Billy Preston, Will It Go Round in Circles. I love that. I still put that on sometimes.
Oh wow, man! I think I'm gonna cover that.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of songs that I put up on YouTube and on Fretted Americana, and a lot of people are like, "Man, if you make a cover record, I'm buying it."
You should do those Fretted Americana.
I'll jump on that. The thing with Right on the Money is that it was 2018 when I wrote it and recorded it, and it was just an idea in my head. Yeah. And then when Chris Lord-Alge called and said, "Hey, come into the Capitol Records, and I'll do a master class, and you'll have 3 new songs recorded." Yeah. It put a fire under my ass to finish the song. And then this COVID thing went down, and it interrupted the tour that the Drills were doing in the UK and Europe. We ended up doing the 8 shows in the UK, and not the 8 shows in Europe. We had to come home. Yeah. And it was kind of like sketchy coming home too, the day after the show in Birmingham. And then, but the song Right on the Money, it just became this really, for me, I always think of, I'm the guy that's like, look on the bright side. Yeah. It could get worse. Keep your chin up, that whole thing, right? Yeah. Stick to your guns, keep it, stay the course. Keep going. And so that's what that song's about. No matter what's happening, just we'll pull through, that thing. And so it's funny that it came out during this COVID situation,
Nice. It's nice to have something positive put out there as well, I think. And that was what I was going to say about that song. Like, it's a super positive song, because that lead into why you put it out when you did, which I probably did,
Well, I also loved how it came out, because I love recording in the studio with a band. I love it. I love the whole vibe of 3 guys, in their case, 3 guys on the floor just rocking the fuck out. Yeah. And I love that. Yeah. And what's really interesting about that specific situation is it's hard for me, even though I love it, it's hard for me to wear the producer hat and the guy playing hat. Yeah. So, because it's hard to be objective. You just want to, you can hear obvious stuff like, Brent, I don't think that's the right kick drum pattern. Yeah. But, I can't really hear Dan because it's headphones, so the bass isn't really carrying. And then you go in there and you listen, and what you thought was amazing sometimes isn't. Yeah. But in this case, it really came out great. Yeah. But Chris also co-produced it, because I remember going to the bridge section, the really heavy section, our Black Sabbath Soundgarden thing, And then it was just going to go back into a solo or something like that.
Yeah.
And when Chris came in and said, "Hey, why don't we have a drum break for a little bit? Just take some breaths.
Yeah.
Everybody just ease into that next section with the drum break." And then Brent started playing that, whatever he was playing, which is funny because when I told him to shoot the video, he's like, "Man, I have no idea what I played." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Then maybe I'll put some photos in there or something." Anyway, but the magical thing remained, the magical essence of what we were doing as three guys on the floor. Yeah. It didn't get edited. It didn't, there wasn't any punch-ins. There wasn't any fixing. It was just, that's what you hear. Yeah. The guitar on the left, Dan's bass, and those drums that you hear in the final product is what happened. And then when I got home, I sang it. I got the guys to do some gang vocals. Yeah. And then I threw a guitar on the right to balance it out. Yeah. It wasn't a one guitar song, that's for sure. But the solo, even the solo that I played on that record is the one that went down when I was
one in the room. Yeah.
Unbelievable. So I love that. I love that we kept it. I love how it came out. Chris not only recorded it, but mixed the shit out of it. Yeah. And then that's what you get. You know, when you really let the vibe take its turn. Yeah. At what's going on. Yeah. You know, I couldn't be happier with how that came out. And a lot of the songs of Volume 2 were also recorded like that. Also, a lot of the songs on Volume 1 too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is that how you tend to do it? Like, is that how you did it for Stupid Good Looking, just live in the room?
Well, first of all, it's a drum fest.
Yeah, absolutely.
And second of all, you don't want an amazing world-class drummer to come in, lay down his drums, and then build on top of it. Yeah. So I definitely didn't. So every drummer came in and played with me and Dan, and we kind of like arranged the songs as a band, kind of like, you know, like Taylor Hawkins, for instance. He was like, "Hey, we should do a little pause before that last chorus." Yeah. And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I just want you to go crazy at the end." And he's like, "Okay." So we did 3 takes, and then you pick the one. Yeah. And sometimes you take, you know, even if you have a guy like Abe Laborde, I know I'm dropping names now, right? Even if you have Abe Laborde Jr. Abe Laborde Jr. is such an incredible person, such an incredible musician, fantastic drummer, just an all-around incredible dude. Even he comes into the studio and lays down, you play a song, and you get the take, and you look at each other, and, excuse me, and you go, "That's the take." Yeah. And then even when you get everything home and you lay down the vocals and you go, "You know what? This take is amazing, top to bottom." Yeah. But in that one section from take 2, yeah. it had even more magic. So you take that take from that section of take 2, and you insert it in take 3. Yeah. And I'm doing math. I hate doing that. and it just, yeah, and then it takes it over the top. So being able to do that as well is fantastic. You know,
I love that you've done it with the different drummers, because, and I think this all the time. It's with all the shows that we watch, I always pick out drummers that I love. It's so important to a song, and like there are so many. And like Brent, I remember the first time I came across Brent, we were still living back in the UK, and we got to see Slash playing Stoke-on-Trent, like his home there, which was really cool. Yeah. When he first put that band together, the Conspirators, and Brent was playing with him, and it was mainly Guns N' Roses covers. He'd only done that one album. Yeah. And I remember reading an interview with Brent at the time and saying how he kind of had to be a bit of a chameleon, and like, you know, he's playing in that Adler kind of vibe and stuff. Yeah. But then what I liked with the Conspirators is then the more that they recorded their own stuff, you really heard him as a drummer, like how he plays, and he is.
Oh, and you know what? Like, yeah, and we're both from Canada. He's from Winnipeg. I'm from Toronto, and we didn't meet. I mean, he was in a band. We briefly met like in the late '80s, where he was in a band that was opening it for a band that I was in, but we met after we both moved to LA. Yeah. And then we kind of kept on each other's radar. Yeah. But, you know, seeing how you're doing, what's happening, But it was a couple of years ago that the Drills were going to Germany, and I asked Brent if he wanted to drum with the Drills. Yeah. And I don't know if it's because we're both Canadian or Dan's Canadian too. So we're the Canadian version of the Drills every time he plays with us. So I don't know if it were because we're all Canadian or if we just grew up listening to the same music.
Yeah.
But we were on stage and I just walked over to Dan and I'm like, is it just me or do you feel like you've been playing with this guy for 25 years?
Yeah.
And he goes, I was thinking the same thing. So it was like instant chemistry.
Yeah.
Instant. So I love that. That's one of the best parts about playing music is finding that chemistry between you and yourself and other players.
Yeah. And also I think like talking about playing live in the room, you played with some like obviously some absolutely top-notch drummers here, like in Kenny Aronoff. I love Kenny Aronoff. I actually love the documentary with both of you guys in, you know, about the session stuff, how you go. And listening to Kenny Aronoff, I love that interview he does where he's talking about with Mellencamp. And he's just like, I've got 15 seconds or whatever it is to save my career here. And he plays, and he just comes up with that drum break out of nowhere. But I think what gets lost is, you know, playing live in the room like that, people don't realize, I mean, you've got to be a great fucking player to play live in the room like that. I mean, because once that red light comes on, and I was lucky enough to get a chance to talk to Steve Lukather, and he talked about that, right? Saying like, I know, he's basically saying, I know some really fantastic guitarists and musicians, but some of those guys, when the red light comes on, it's just not for them, you know? So there's something special about people who can do that.
I've seen that too. I saw one guitar player, I'm not going to say who it was. They were warming up, and I was like, wow, they got some chops.
Yeah.
But as soon as we went into record, it just sounded like, where'd the chops go?
Yeah, what happened?
You know, I think what happens is people start to play safe.
Yeah.
I think that happens a lot. I think my favorite recordings have been not only playing with all at the same time, but to tape.
Yeah.
Because it's not Pro Tools where you can just do a seamless punch in or do another take and insert the, you know, we weren't playing to a click, so that's crazy right there. But it's just, I think the urgency will never be in the same situation. I can hear the urgency when we play the tape because you don't want to be the one that screws up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So you don't want to be everybody. Oh, that was me.
Yeah.
Dick, I was having my best take ever.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be
like
that.
Sorry. You know, so you don't want to be the guy that screws it up. So that adds an urgency as well as the excitement of if you're playing with a massive bass player and a massive drummer, then they start triggering stuff that would never happen if you were playing separately. Yeah. So I just love that. I love music. I'm a huge fan of music. I'm a huge fan of my favorite bands. And, you know, they all get on stage and put on a show. And, you know, I was lucky to see Van Halen in 1980 when I was 14. And it just changed my life. Yeah. You got that front man. You got that guitar player. You got that rhythm section. And they're flying all over the stage. Yeah. It's not like just standing there looking at their shoes. Yeah. I left going, that's what it's about. Right there. Yeah. And to me, being a fan of music, every time I get on stage, I try to project what I want to see. Yeah. As a fan. So, except, I don't know, man, we were in the UK and I was cracking jokes like you would not believe. And everybody was walking up to me going, you know, if the guitar thing doesn't work out, you can just stand up. Okay, well, that's a compliment. Yeah. And what do you mean if the guitar thing doesn't work out?
The guitar thing doesn't work out. Yeah, what do you
I'm playing in two of my favorite bands.
Maybe it's a session thing. When I interviewed Steve Lukather, he was saying about when he was playing with Ringo's band and his amp blew up. And there was like this big break, and apparently he was on the microphone, and he's like, maybe I should tell a joke. And he was like, the whole band were like, no, because he's like, he tells the dirtiest jokes apparently in the world. So they were like, don't let him speak.
That is funny. You know what? I love Luke, man.
Yeah. He's special.
He's one of the wickedest dudes I've ever met. And we stay in touch too. He's just a cool dude.
I listened to his autobiography. I got the audiobook version of it, and I would be listening to it walking in and out of work. I would just be like laughing out loud on the street. He's such a funny guy, like, and he's had such an amazing life. Like, I mean, that was the other thing about session work, and I don't think I'd really appreciate it until watching something like Hired Gun or interviewing him and reading his book. Like, you know, he was saying back in the day, sometimes they walk in a room and it's like, you know, the song's barely written. It's a chord chart. And then they were filling out all that space in those songs. I mean, they weren't just playing the guitar on it. They were writing music as they went along.
Well, that's your job. Even when I was doing sessions, it's like, I always came in like a writer, even though I wasn't writing. And I did get writing credit. But my goal was always to make the chorus the best part of the song. And to really make it explosive, because otherwise, you know, why are you there really? You know, it's so important to relay the song to the listener, and your job is to make it better. And make the chorus sound better, and complement the vocal the whole time. So, because the vocal is the main thing. You know, it's music on the radio. It's all about the vocal. You know,
when you're writing for the drills, I heard you say about the new one that like came to you in the car. And the funny thing was, I remember when we interviewed you back in 2018 when you were with Bon Jovi, and you were telling me the story about how you and Shanks were having like a bit of a competition, and you were like, oh, you were saying, what did you do last night? And you said, oh, I wrote a song. And it was, I can't remember what song it was, but it was on volume 1. It was...
I wrote, I want my money back.
I want my money back. Yeah, you were telling us about that. You're like, yeah, I wrote a song last night. And he was like, what words and everything? And you're like, yeah, I've even got a title. I want my money back. And he's like, that's a good title as well.
I'm like, I want, you know what? I got to be careful when I tell John change titles, because you might run with it. That's a good title. Yeah, it is a good title, and it's a good song. So stay away from it.
So when you write, are you writing all the time? Like, does it just drop in there? Is it an idea that drops in, or?
I want to say I go through phases. Some phases is there's always the light's always on and it's attracting flies. And a lot of those flies turn into songs. Lately, it's been challenging to get in the creative mode songwriting wise, but at least I can get creative with the sessions that I'm doing. I have a thing with lyrics. I think lyrics are very, very important, and I think a lot of songs and a lot of writers and a lot of bands, I don't think they look at the lyrics as important as I do. I don't want to just come out and say something that's been said, because everything's been said. So I want to say what's been said, but in a different way. Somebody asked me a couple of weeks ago if I was ever going to write with Jon Bon Jovi, and we come from different cloth, as they say. You know, I like lyrics to be interpretive. I like lyrics to be like you have to read between the lines to kind of figure out what's being said. Whereas every line in every song Jon writes says what it means.
I know what you mean.
It's like, not only does this line mean that, but so does this line, and this line. It's just a different way of saying it. But and I love that. When we went into the studio to record the new record in Nashville last year, I noticed that every line in every song was meant to be there. And a lot, for me, I feel like a lot of people write like they just need a hook, and then everything else can just be drab. Just write whatever and throw it in there, and then we're done. And I don't feel that way. But I do. So it's hard for me. I can have riffs. I got a million riffs. But for me to get excited about a song, there's got to be a lyric. So I have 3 of those swimming in my head right now. 3 lyrics that could be 3 songs. but then it's just opening up that pad and getting up that pen and finishing it with it meaning something, you know?
Yeah, and does the melody come with the lyrics when it's in your head?
Melodies come to me pretty easily. Riffs come to me pretty easily. Chord progressions, you know, there's only so many chord progressions, and it's trial and error for me. You know, I'll write a chord progression down and then go start singing around it, and oh my God, it's great. Sometimes, once in a while, you hear a song on the radio, and it's one of those typical chord progressions.
Yeah.
And you start singing a different melody over it, like a counter melody to what the singer's singing. And then all of a sudden, wait a minute, that's a song. Thank you, whoever you are, you know.
Yeah. I think you're right. And those chord progressions as well. Sometimes I get to this spot where I'm like, well, didn't the Beatles really cover most of it when they were writing? And I love it.
That's what a lot of people say. Every song's been written by the Beatles. But, and I love the Beatles.
Yeah.
It's even the early stuff. And people come up to me, I always use the Beatles as a reference. Because somebody will come up to me and go, hey, can you produce this song? And I listen to it and I go, dude, what is this song? You got way too many changes and I like kind of like progressive stuff, but I wanted to be popular, and I'm like, okay, dude, even the Beatles had to put out Love Me Do before they put out I Am the Walrus.
Yeah, exactly.
And sitting on a cornflake waiting for the van to come. You can't just talk about a purple puppy dog in your song, you know?
Yeah. I'm a big fan. I actually, with the Beatles stuff, it's strange. Like, I'm a huge fan of George. Like, George's songs were some of the best that the Beatles wrote. I honestly believe that. And, like, some of the changes, like, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, some of the changes in that song are just the best. I mean, honestly, fantastic.
Those have been used a million times, too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's such great changes, though. Like, you wait for them coming along. So,
that's when, you know, that's when you kind of like scratch your head when somebody goes, oh, Led Zeppelin stole Stairway to Heaven from us.
Yeah.
We had that progression. I'm like, dude, that progression was almost every song in 1928.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, of course, everybody steals from everyone else, but they took it that annoys me about Led Zeppelin as well when people say that. I'm like, yeah, but they took it somewhere where it would. They took this stuff. There's some blues basis to it, but they took it somewhere where it never would have gone without them.
Exactly.
And everything is based on the blues. Let's be honest. Like, everything goes back to it. So, yeah. And that stuff, it's still. And I talk about this a lot. Like, I still love the fact that, like, when I read Keith Richards' autobiography and then the Led Zeppelin biographies and stuff, people still chase those sounds, right? People still chase that Bonham drum sound and When the Levee Breaks. And he was just playing his drums in the entrance hall to the house, right? That was all it was.
It's amazing. Because when you listen to that, and it's funny too, because they'll get close to that sound.
Yeah.
And they'll try to put on modern guitars.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
No.
The only reason that drum sounds like the way it does is because Page made the guitar sound small.
Yeah.
So when you try to throw on Linkin Park guitars on When the Levee Breaks drums, it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's not happening. So I guess, I mean, have you got a release date for Volume 2 on Stupid Good Looking?
We don't. We're hoping it comes out before Christmas. We're in the midst of mixing. It's done. It's been recorded for a while.
Yeah.
I just got to get the tracks over to Chris so he can mix Volume 2. We are going to put out a single by the end of the summer. That is on Volume 2. So there is another song coming out. We're just tweaking the mix. It's mixed. It just needed a couple of tweaks. And then we're going to announce the release of that in the next couple of weeks.
Excellent. I'll look forward.
Yeah, I'm excited. That song is called I Love You on Her Lips. So it's kind of like, I love you, quote, on her lips.
You got like, when we're talking about lyrics, you still have some of my favorite, you got some of my favorite album titles, like We Play Instruments and shit, and I love the story behind that. But then, like, I Wish My Beer Was As Cold As Your Heart. I mean, that's a rock and roll song title if ever you heard one. And then there's a lot behind it when you actually get into the song as well.
Dude, we we get the audience going on that one. I mean, I love that. Like even the joke, the ongoing joke of doing dates with the drills in clubs,
Yeah.
and riding in a van and staying in shared hotel rooms and playing to 100 to 300 people every night. Was the joke was I was doing that and enjoying it and loving every minute of it.
Yeah.
But in June and July, obviously it didn't happen, but in June and July I was going to be back to jets and arenas.
Yeah, 5-star hotels and that.
Yeah. And so it's I love both. I love being an artist. I feel blessed that I get both canvases. The canvas that's the drills and the canvas that's Bon Jovi. I get to drive this truck, and then I'm in the back seat of this truck, adding color.
It's kind of nice that you get to do it as well, because I bet very few people. I mean, I bet for someone like Jon, there are maybe days when he's like, shit, I wish I could go back to those club days and it's impossible for him now, right? Like, you just can't do it, but you get to do both sides. You get
I bet Jon wishes he could just go to a movie.
just walk out of his front door, right? Like,
I don't envy that, like when we're on the road, it's kind of like, hey, Jon wants to go see that new movie tonight. You want to go? And I'm like, sure. And then they write down that I'm going, and they compile a list of everyone going, and the promoter has rented out the entire theater.
Holy shit.
And sometimes we take the crew too, so it's kind of fun, but you can't, even if they don't rent out the theater, there's a posse going. There's like 10 people, and the security and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I wanted to...
There's popcorn, man. As long as there's popcorn, everyone's happy.
Then you're good, like with Bon Jovi, the new album 2020, obviously they pushed it out a little bit. I think it's coming October. And I wanted to talk to you now a bit. Obviously, you're a full member of the band now. So what's it like in terms of how does it work, the recording process? You did this one out in Nashville, right? And I think I saw you.
I was excited to be involved from the ground up.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you.
That was really awesome. That seeing how the machine works, seeing the inner workings. And I mean, Jon, obviously he's got a vision. He wrote all the songs and co-wrote all the songs, but he has a vision of what the record will be. And he's going through I find bridges are really important in songs, but sometimes a solo, sometimes it's a bridge. But I love, there's a couple of songs, like even in Limitless that came out, and we did the video for that. Even that song, my favorite part of that song is the bridge. It's the melody over those chords. It's just so, it hits me here. And, we were all looking forward to playing it live, so we'll see what happens with that. But there's one song I can't wait for people to hear, and that song is Love is a Beautiful Drug. Because it might be short. It's not a long solo, but it's a short, cool solo. There's a few Phil X licks in there, so I was pretty excited to record that. And that it didn't get deleted.
So there's some of your personality in there then.
That's my nugget. Yeah, that solo is my that's where I'm gonna put my name on that solo. It's definitely more dangerous rock and roll. And I'm not gonna say that, I think danger is missing in rock and roll lately. I think the dangerous aspect of this kind of music has been, I don't know, it's diminishing year by year. And somebody asked me last week, I forget what it was. It was another interview, but it was more like, I said something like, I can't even quote myself right now. I said, I'm not bringing danger back to rock and roll, but I'm helping.
That's a good line.
So that solo in that song is helping bring danger back to rock and roll.
I went back last week. I dug out because it was the not the 10th, it was like the 40th or something anniversary of Back in Black, and I dug out Back in Black on vinyl and I listened to it like front to back. I was like, holy shit, there's nothing like that. There's nothing like that anymore. It's
40 years, it's still, I think it's still the best sounding record.
Yeah.
After 40 years.
Yeah.
I also think the songs front to back
are unbelievable. Yeah.
And you know what? It's just the dots connected.
Yeah.
Because I thought Highway to Hell was an incredible record too. It's one of my other favorites. Yeah. The sound and the songs and Bon Scott.
Yeah.
Love Bon Scott. But you know, so think about a band that just put out their biggest record.
Yeah.
And they have to replace the singer.
I know.
And like that's not enough pressure, right?
Yeah.
So they replaced the singer and beat their best record with the new singer.
And the singer they find is Brian Johnson as well. I mean, come on. And I love that story. And I don't know how much truth there is in it, but the story that I heard about that was that Bon Scott saw him playing a show in Newcastle, or Gateshead, which is near where I'm from in the UK. He used to play in a band called Geordie. He used to sing in the band. And apparently he had appendicitis during the show and got carried off the stage. And Bon Scott thought it was all part of the show and was like, this is the story I heard, said to the band, like, if anything ever happens to me, you've got to find this guy to like sing in AC/DC. And that's how it happened. That was the story I heard about it.
Wow.
But I mean, think of it from Brian Johnson's point of view. He was playing in this, you know, small band in the northeast of England, and he gets picked out of that and put on like does Back in Black, right? And then tours the world with AC/DC. That's a great rock and roll story.
Unbelievable. That's amazing. There's been a lot of situations where people were found in clubs or YouTube now. Yeah. And the next thing they know, they've gone from YouTube to playing in stadiums. It's pretty amazing. I mean, if you got it and people see it, then they'll come and get it. Yeah, if it's there, they'll go after it without a doubt. So I know you're really busy. I had one last thing to ask you, which was the Gibson hookup. Man, that must be exciting for you. I am so excited about Gibson. How does it happen? That's what I was going to ask you. Did they approach you? Well, yeah. I mean, I've been with Freeman since 2014, and I had a good run with them. Yeah. Before that, it was Yamaha, and before that, it was ESP. So, I mean, I've always wanted to be a Gibson guy, but I always had a problem with the quality control. Yeah. And I'm a quality control guy, and I'm a tinkerer, and I love, I change pickups. I mean, I don't do like frets and stuff like that because I just get my tech to do that stuff. But I love digging into a guitar and what makes it tick. Yeah. And I'm very much about a mojo. Yeah. That's in the guitar. So like if even when I was doing Fred Americana, a lot of guys would call me up and say, not call me, but message me and say, hey, I'm looking for a telly. And they're like, well, go to a store and play 10. Yeah. And one of them will be the one. Yeah. Same thing with Les Paul, same thing with SGs, same thing with anything. So, I was looking for a VOS Les Paul burst. Yeah. And I played 4. And it was like none of them had everything I wanted. Yeah. One played great but didn't sound great, and the other one sounded great but didn't play great. And I mean, it could have been the setup or anything, but when you're spending that kind of money, it's got to be right. You want it to be like magic in your hands, and you want the guitar to go, take me home. So, and that wasn't happening. So it kind of like miffed me on the whole Gibson thing. And for me, it wasn't even my shopping for a guitar. Yeah. It's me thinking about a kid who's saving all his money, and he's got like, he mows all the neighbors' lawns and probably delivers the paper and doing whatever he can to save all his money to buy a guitar like Jimmy Page. Yeah. And then he goes and spends $4,000 on a dud. Yeah. That drives me crazy. Yeah. Now, what happened was Gibson called last year and they said, hey, we want to meet with you and we're wondering, we'd love to have you. If you want to come to Gibson, we'd love to have you. And then I had this discussion with Cesar, the new guy. And we were talking and he goes, look, just come. Our quality control has improved beyond our expectations. So just come to Nashville and check out the factories. So I came to Nashville, I checked out the factories, and I was blown away. Yeah. And not only every guitar coming off the line being amazing, but you know, people will recognize me walking through the factory and you go, hey, it's Phil X. So I'm like, hey man, what's happening? What do you do? I'm like, oh, I put binding on the Les Paul. And I'm like, and they look happy. And then you meet somebody else and they do the CNC machine and they look happy. And then you talk to a guy who's just stringing up a guitar because his other buddy just finished putting the last pickup in and wiring it. And everybody's happy. It seems like a really happy family. And that's really important to me too. Yeah. And then the showroom is here in Los Angeles. And I went there around Christmas time and it was Christmas. I was like, can I try that out? Can I try that out? Can I take that? And they're like, yeah. Let's just make a note that Phil likes the guitar, so we know where it is. Yeah. And I've been really excited about, and that sucked too because I was so excited to take all these Gibsons. Like I think 10 Gibsons on the road with Bon Jovi. Yeah. And
try them all out.
And it was funny because we had made the deal, but we couldn't announce anything until January. Yeah. So we did it at NAMM. But the videos, the Bon Jovi videos for Limitless and the Beautiful Drug song, they were shot in December. So I'm thinking, and so here I am, and I'm excited about January, but it's December, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I'm shooting these videos and they're coming out next year, so I'll be with Gibson, so I gotta use Gibsons. And I have a few Gibsons, but I want really good lookers. I keep doing this, I'm sorry. I wanted really good lookers. So I called, Beth here at Gibson here, and I said, hey, can I come and look at some guitars? We're shooting 2 videos next week, and I'd love to take some, some really nice pieces. Yeah. And I ended up taking a really cool. Actually, you're looking at it. I can't reach it right now, but it's back there. It's a 355, beautiful Black Beauty. And then I used an Explorer for Beautiful Trust. I used this, but this one's mine. Yeah. But I wanted to use a rock and roll guitar for my 16 seconds of danger.
And I saw that SG that you bought, the custom shop one, which you put your Arcane pickup in, right? You pulled out the neck pickup and
that's her too.
Is that like a bit of a preview of maybe what's to come with you?
I mean, if we don't have it just be one pickup, we'll probably get a Phil X action figure. So we don't have any copyright infringement with Marvel or DC. Yeah. But you can see it's empty. Yeah. Because my son, he's kicking him out. Wait, this is the funny part. I have Robin in this cavity, and then he's like, Daddy, I really want Robin back. And I'm like, okay, buddy, I take him out. 2 days later, Daddy, can you glue Robin back together? I'm like, dude, he was safer in my guitar.
So then now, will you be working with them on a signature? Like you've got access to these guys, right? It must be like a dream.
I think sometime this month there's supposed to be a conversation with the head luthier, Jim DeCola. Yeah. I do have to say I hit it off with Jim immediately when I went to the factories, and I was really impressed. And we were talking about pickups, and we were talking about this and that. Yeah. And then I also got this and another one, and this is the 70s. It's got binding on the neck, which makes it pretty awesome. Yeah. So I got this, and Jim personally texted me and said, I can't wait for you to hear that pickup in that Explorer. And I'm like, I can't wait to either. So I plug it in and it sings, man. That guitar is awesome. So I think down the road, I'm thinking, you know, the SG is so amazing for me because of, I love the balance of it, but I wish it had a fatter neck, but that might throw off the balance. So there'll be a few prototypes, I think, figuring out the balance situation. But
you like a fatter neck, right? You like a bigger neck generally.
I love like a 58 Les Paul first. The funny thing about Gibson is the brand is like a dream come true.
Yeah.
Like even if they said, you know, we'll work on your signature, but in the meantime, can you just play what we got?
Yeah.
I'm like, you mean Les Pauls, SGs, Explorers, Flying? You mean that?
Yeah.
It's 335s, and they're like, yeah, and I'm like, oh yeah, what a problem to have, you know?
I think I can get by. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and to answer your question about the signature, yeah, sometime this month we will be having a FaceTime and ironing out some details, and then they'll get something made, and then I'll play it, and then we'll see where we're at. But I'm just really excited. I used 2 of those SGs for the UK tour with the drills, and they do everything I want, even with one pickup. It just does whatever I want. It's amazing.
And then you're gonna have to map out, I guess, for Bon Jovi, which guitar goes with which song, right? Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, that's a tough one too. That's what a shame.
Man, I'm looking forward to see what you come up with on this signature. I really am.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Well, hey, thanks for taking the time, Phil. I really appreciate it.
Sorry I was late, man.
No worries at all. We'll get the interview up on the site within the next couple of days.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, brother. Take care, man.
Have a good one.
Good luck. Take care.
Bye.